Good morning. So this is a follow-up video to the video I posted yesterday called the Boca bearing product test. And it was testing these two products that I have in my hands here, which is Boca's Clean Touch, and Bearing Soak. Now these are products that are designed to be used on bearings, all types of bearings, to actually clean the debris or oil, grease, whatever is on them, and then soak them in the bearing soak, and it's supposed to create a molecular bond to the metal bearing surfaces to fill up any pits and gaps and stuff like that. So I know that the video and the experiment I did yesterday was incredibly unscientific, very unscientific. It was just kind of thrown together because these products were provided to me for me to use for whatever choice or for whatever means I choose to use them. So without, and when they came to me, they didn't come with any kind of instructions at all on how to use them. Since then, this morning, I've actually gone to the Boca website, and under the support tab, and let's see here, where are we? Support, bearing maintenance. There's a bearing maintenance link, which actually talks about these two products and a couple other products, high-speed oil and some grease. And it's titled How to Maintain Your Bearings. So the other thing here is that Boca makes bearings for all sorts of industries, I can't even fathom the number of industries and applications that have radial ball bearings and roller ball bearings and all kinds of different ball bearings, or bearings in general. So these products that they provided to me are not specifically or intentionally just for use in my application, which would be the hobby industry or glow engine application. They're not for that specifically. They're for their general purpose products that can be used on probably a much wider variety of bearings than I have on hand and that I typically use. So my comparison of using these products for my application for glow engines is probably not the most fair, and it's probably not the best means to test these products because, quite honestly, when I replace bearings in engines, they get replaced. They get new bearings. And typically, I've never been one to do this, and I've replaced so many hundreds of bearings in engines. Even when I moved from Florida, I had a big tote of bearings. I never throw bearings away. I don't know what it is about me, but I just never throw them away thinking, oh, I might do something with them. And I'm still the same way. Every bearing that I think that I've replaced, unless it's just falling apart, I've kept. And I put them in little bags, and I don't even know what the hell. Most of them I'll write on Sharpie marker on the bag what it came from. And sometimes that marker gets wiped off on greasy, oily, solvent-coated fingers. So I've got a lot of bearings that I don't necessarily know what they're from. Now, since I've been replacing or using Boca bearings in this collaboration I'm using with Boca, Boca always provides these nice little bags for their kits, their kit bearings. And they have a kit number in them, as you've seen in my videos. So when I buy these, or when I get these for customer engines or even my own engines, I keep the little bag, and the engine or the bearings I take out of whatever engine, mine, yours, I put them in this bag and just say used. So at least now I've got a little bit more control over what the heck is this bearing? Where did it come from? So I understand I'm kind of going all over the place here, but I just want you to know that the products I was showing are not necessarily intended just for our application at all. In fact, I may be misusing them in hoping that I can revitalize glow engine ball bearings using these products. Although I'm not done trying, because like I said in that video, I have no problem putting used bearings in one of my engines. If I have something, even just as an experiment. I mean, I don't run my engines enough to probably ever need to replace the bearings, but should I ever, I don't have a problem using used bearings because I know that the ones I'm keeping are probably lightly used anyway, and until I start flying again, I'm not really going to be too concerned about the super newness of the bearings in my engines. Heck, I don't think most people are. So anyway, I'm going to throw it to the table now and just show you some of the results, because it's been probably not quite 24 hours, but it's been 18 hours or so, we'll say, since I made that last video. And I pulled these bearings out from the bag that I put them in, that I had done the bearing soak on, just to feel them. And so another thing, well, let me just turn this camera off and turn the upper camera on, and we'll just talk the rest of this video through on the bench here. Okay, so here we are on the table. These are the 3 bearings that I used yesterday, where I quickly did a little cleaning on them and then put them in the bearing soak for 10 minutes. So the thing that I didn't realize was this Clean Touch, I have yet to find the SDS sheet on it, but I'm going to find it because it has a very familiar smell. I mean, it just smells like a cleaning solvent. I can't place exactly what it is. In fact, I want to leave that lid off so this evacuates all that smell, because these are really nice little aluminum containers. Anyway, I haven't found the SDS sheet on that yet, but I can tell you here, Clean Touch. It just says it's tetrachloride and silicone free bearing cleaner. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't really know what that means. But the way that this is supposed to be used is you soak these things, and you can either put them in an ultrasonic, and a friend Jeremy, and I didn't think of this really, you can put them in the Clean Touch. This isn't Clean Touch, but you can put them in the Clean Touch and then drop this in your ultrasonic cleaner, and the vibrations going through the glass should hopefully clean the bearings up. I did not do that, didn't think about doing that. Over here is the one where I've actually got Clean Touch in. I've got just in these mason jars, just because it's easier to see, and I can put the entire contents in there. I didn't empty the entire contents of bearing soak in there. But anyway, where I'm going with this was the Clean Touch. It says actually, I'm going to move those out of the way, let them dry for 24 hours or blow them dry with a compressor. I don't have a compressor, but these were bearings that I did today, and these were the bearings that I took out of a customer's 61 OS 61 VF engine. So I just had put these in Clean Touch today, switched them around and let them sit, and then I dried them off. So I'm sitting here trying to let them get completely dry, because I don't know that I had these bearings completely dry when I put them in the bearing soak. But I've got this tool here that Boca provided also. It's metric, unfortunately, so it doesn't, I'm gonna have to see if they have one of these in a standard size. It's like a little bearing measurement tool, but you can also use it if you have bearings small enough to, you know, just put it on there and spin them. But like I said, these are all SAE bearings or Imperial, so they don't fit on there properly. But so I know that the test that I did when I was saying, oh, well, feel this, listen to this, whatever, I know that's super subjective. It's super unscientific, but it's like testing bearings, the friction, coefficient of friction of bearings, or the spin, I would call it, of bearings, is not a super simple subject to test, because I don't really see too many bearing testers. Now, Boca says in this little website, they say use this tool and just put it on there and just spin it. Well, I would if these were metric and actually fit on here good, but they don't, because I'm sitting there doing it and I can hear the little clicking because it's doing that in there. So it's like, how do I want to invest any time or effort or money at all in trying to create like a fidget spinner or something that I can sit here with 2 of them with a control and then one of these and spin it and see which one spins the longest? I don't know, because that even that is not necessarily a good test. How long does a bearing spin? Because many bearings use grease as their lubricant in there, so they're not gonna spin forever. They're just gonna be smooth. So it's like, it's very tough to just judge this. So, and after I posted that video, I'm driving and I'm poking holes in it as I'm driving. I'm like, this was dumb. How can you, and all that kind of stuff, because it's so subjective. But anyway, so here's the results. I pulled these bearings out. They still feel even after all this time of sitting, and that was the other thing I was sitting there thinking. I was like, well, you put oil in any bearing and it's going to feel better than it was because now it's got lubricant on it. So did this bearing soak actually create a molecular bond? I don't know. I can't prove that. But I did pull these out and I'm like, they do still feel pretty nice. But then I was reading this little blurb here on how to maintain your bearings, and it also says that, okay, so I'm just going to read this, and I'm going to put a link to this article in the description, or this little blurb here in the description, so you can all go and read it. But it says here, so it talks about clean touch and soaking them, doing whatever, letting them dry for 24 hours. Then it says, we also suggest using an additional pre-soak step that will further lubricate and protect the bearing. Our Lightning LBT bearing soak is specifically designed to form a molecular bond with all moving metal parts. It will fill in the pores, pits, and gaps typically found in chrome or stainless steel. Soaking bearings for 10 to 15 minutes in bearing soak will reduce friction, decrease wear, and extend life. So that was the step I did yesterday, was the filling of this. But then I didn't read this part, and I didn't know it until just recently. It says the final step is lubrication. And that's where I was also thinking yesterday. I was poking holes in this. I'm like, well, that's dumb, because as soon as this dries, you know, how's it going to feel? And then I started thinking, well, why would it dry? Because if you use this bearing soak to fill these gaps, what are you going to do with the bearings? Are they typically going to sit? No, you're probably going to be putting them back into an engine. What do you do when you reassemble an engine? You lubricate it. So it's not like these would ever just sit here and dry out unless you were just using them and doing that, and then you're going to use them at a later date. But if you were to put them right back into an engine, then they are going to get lubricated. And that's where this step comes in here. It says the final step is lubrication. A 10 to 20% fill is more than sufficient. Be sure not to overlube. And here they're talking about grease. Use a light drop of low viscosity lubrication such as our high-speed oil, or if you're seeking a pronounced free spinning bearing. For the best protection, however, we suggest using a heavy-duty grease like our grease power lubrication. Now, I don't have that. I'm going to get some of that. If you're using a shielded bearing or an orange seal bearing, you can apply the oil to the bearing with the shields intact. So they're talking about, and I've got some of that high-speed lube. So they're saying basically even after you do the bearing soak, you're still going to lubricate the bearings, which of course makes sense. So I guess the bottom line is I just wanted to make sure that everybody that watched that, which it hasn't gotten very many views at all anyway, and nobody seems to really care, which is fine, but I still want to put a little closure on this, is that yes, I understand that was a highly unscientific, non-technical experiment and product test. However, I have found out some new information that kind of validates it a little bit. I mean, first of all, these bearings still feel smooth and nice and quiet. So I believe that they did create a molecular bond with the metal. And then, obviously, you're not just going to let them sit there and dry out. You're going to put them in an engine or wherever and lubricate them again anyway. So this is kind of like Bondo on a car. You're filling the dents and gaps in the fiberglass that you just repaired or whatever, or the fender you just repaired, and then you're going to put the paint over it. So the paint here would be, you're going to lubricate these things again. So maybe that's, I think I kind of missed some of that. But anyway, so I've got these bearings here. And these were, listen to this. This is the one that came out of that OS 61 VF engine. You can really hear the spin there. This one I don't know that. You can hear it. I mean, this one feels a lot better, but what I'm feeling here is not notchiness. I'm just feeling the balls rolling on the race. I mean, it spins pretty nice. So what I'm going to do here with these is I'm going to go ahead and just drop these in this bearing soak. and let them sit in here and do the bearing soak thing on those, and then test them again. I'm not going to put that on video. I just wanted to clarify what I did with that video, and that I was poking holes in it, and that nobody seems to care about that video anyway. But I just felt like I needed to at least explain myself and how I went about doing that, and also to show that, hey, you know what? These do still feel really nice. So, hey, maybe the bearing soak is a real deal, and I'll keep using it.